Last week, there is a company that went viral called TCM. It's some kind of warehouse or manufacturing company that happened to be based in Eldoret, Kenya. And there was a situation between a Chinese supervisor and a Kenyan employee. Now, as we cannot show the entire video, but what you saw was a Chinese man, doing his very best to try to hit this particular Kenyan employee. Didn't seem like what he was trying to do was actually hurting the guy or anything, as the Kenyan man seemed to be a lot more agile than him. And, he was trying to, hurt the guy, but it just wasn't working. And the guy never swung back. The Kenyan guy never swung back. And so what happened was this.
The Chinese national captured on video assaulting a Kenyan factory worker has been sacked. The company TCM Roofing Mabati Suppliers has confirmed. The Central Organization of Trade Unions, Cotu, had earlier demanded for the immediate deportation of the said assailant. In a letter addressing the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, Cotu highlighted the increasing incidents of rogue foreign employers harassing Kenyan employees, which it has slammed as a violation of their rights and dignity.
Now, what is interesting is that the Chinese guy tried to save face.
Later, in another unverified viral video, the two are seen shaking hands, and the employee saying that he has forgiven the aggressor, stating that it is because he wants to continue with his job despite the public uproar, and would resolve any other situation better in future. Despite the alleged reconciliation, in a letter shared, the management of TCM Roofing Mabati Suppliers clarifies that the foreign national involved is just a worker and is not the investor. And as a disciplinary action, the letter claims that the management has terminated the contract of the foreign national, and arrangements are underway towards his return to China.
All right, let me just, assess this, because this isn't the first time that I have seen a Chinese person try to abuse an African, especially men. It's happened times in Kenya. I've seen it happen here in Uganda. I've seen it happen in Rwanda, right? And I've also seen cases of African men fighting back. In certain cases, whooping these Chinese guys' asses. So, number one, what did the Kenyan guy do? I know that some people are going to say that. Now, there are cases where African employees make mistakes. It's opportunities to steal or do things like that. Okay, it happens to foreigners. It will happen to you. It has happened to me. Okay, so the person made a mistake, or the person intentionally did something against you. How do you handle that? Number one, you never hit them. All right. And that's what I want to drive the point home. Under no circumstances is it ever acceptable for you to put your hands on somebody. I had a situation once with a person, I don't want to call the person's name, where that person was like, I don't even want to go into the story because some of the people will know what I'm talking about. But what he did was so crazy. A guy I really cared about. To a certain degree, the person was living around me. He was driving me everywhere. But the person was just unethical. And the things that he was doing, not only to me, but to certain people in the diaspora, it was crazy. Had it had been in America, for a person that was that close to me to do what he was doing, it would have been a fade, meaning that he'd have to see me. We got to get it off, or I'm coming after you. But this person is a citizen of Uganda, and there's no way for me to explain, well, the reason why I took off on bruh because he stole some money from me. The reason why I did that to bruh, cause he talked crazy to me. What kind of person are you? And I know that nobody black would make this mistake, but I see it with the Chinese. You're gonna have times where you're frustrated with a person. A person is literally harming you. You fire that person. Get your stuff and get out. That's how you handle that. Okay? You don't handle that by putting your hands on somebody, especially another adult. Secondarily, what kind of person believes it is okay for them to do that? And let me call out another thing. I have seen so much disrespect from people in the Asian community, and this is just not Chinese. I've seen it from Chinese in Africa. I've seen it from Pakistanis in Africa. I've seen it from Indians in Africa. They literally talk to Ugandans and Kenyans in such despicable ways. I'm not saying all of them, but I do see, especially the ones who haven't lived here. I think it's a little bit better. Maybe not very much from Indians who've been living in Kenya for a while. But now some of these guys who are coming directly over from China, they automatically look at these blacks as less than, okay? And that's how they see them. And not only do they get the attitudes, sometimes we get them, all right? We had a situation, me and TJ, we were working with a particular group, and we happened to be dealing with somebody who happened to be from India, Pakistan. That person was extremely rude, and we caught it one day to one of our staff in Kenya and Uganda. He had been used to talking like that, all right? Now, if he was speaking that way, we could only imagine that person is capable of doing other things. And so what happens is when some of these East Asians or South Asians come into, African countries, they feel like they are not even humans, all right? So if you're recording me doing X, Y, and Z to you, well, I feel like I can get away with it. That's why I can do it. And what are you going to do about it? So, and then, you bring these people to manage Africans, Ugandans or Kenyans, who do not have any rapport with them. And that's one thing that I feel like in the diaspora, we have that bar none. Don't get me wrong. I struggle. I make mistakes. But the one thing that I got in my side is, all right, as a Black American, hashtag African American, ADOS, all of that. I understand that this person that looks like me is a part of me somehow. So therefore I treat that person differently. But Chinese or some of these other Asians there do not necessarily think like this. And that's why you always see, like I had a situation where, and I kid you, I'm not lying. There was an Indian couple, because if you live in some of the, mid areas in Uganda, to upper areas, you're going to get some Indians. So in my complex, they had a Ugandan maid. Okay. So I come outside one day and the lady is just there. They had left. She was out there sleeping on the concrete floor outside of the house. So I go out there. I see this lady. She had no shoes on. It was cold. So I said, you okay? You hungry? She's like, no, I'm good. I was like, well, so I understand what's going on. She's like, no, I'm just waiting for the boss to get back. So they wouldn't even allow her to stay in the house. All right. And the poor lady was just there because she could only be in the home if they were there. Okay. Then I heard that same lady running and crying. She had been fired. They had refused to pay her that money. And it was like she had no recourse. All right. And so what has happened probably is because that video made that Chinese guy be accountable to his actions. He had possibly been doing that before. Ain't the first time. Okay. So these guys make a mistake. Chinese guy probably can't communicate very well, whatever. So they start trying to beat somebody, and this is very, 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 very common, guys. It's not as uncommon as you think in Africa. Yes. And hitting men. Now imagine you're a Kenyan guy, have a business in China. You put your hands on a Chinese guy. What's going to happen? Now, what actually made this video even worse? The Chinese guy had convinced the Kenyan guy to say, oh no, man, this is beat. It's squashed. The Kenyan guy did not want to lose his job. He was still fearful. Okay. So he had accepted the abuse, but obviously he may have a family. He got things. He still wanted to work there. In other words, hey, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I've seen Africans have, especially East Africa, you know, like, look, well, this is, I got to have a place to work. So I can accept this. I'm a man. I got to take this stuff because I don't want to be fired. Because you know why? You can be fired. You're already making low money. They can fire you. You can't go file a complaint or anything like that because you're most likely going to lose. So the only thing that was able to really bring this out was the fact that they had this video evidence. Again, I will say this, and I'm going to keep saying this. The things that happen to a lot of these brothers and sisters on the ground in Kenya and Uganda, when literally, in my honest opinion, this is a foreigner's market, guys. Unfortunately, I talked about that in my last month or whatever. You look at Kilimani. I was staying there about 4 or 5 months ago. Literally, it's like Chinatown in certain parts of Kilimani. And the apartments are not really for sale for Kenyans, I don't think. You have more foreigners affording that. Where they're Americans, Europeans. And the same thing is happening to Uganda. This country is not being developed for Ugandans. That's the truth. Uganda is being developed for who can make Uganda work. All right. And in many cases, that's not Uganda. In many cases, that's not Rwandese. In many cases, not Kenyans. So what happens is the investor class are able to come in and they send their management in. And so they're not going to be fair to the people. And I'm telling you, this is what's happening. In Uganda, you see apartments all the time in dollars. Kololo, $200,000 for this apartment, $300,000 for this apartment. I mean, even more expensively priced in Nairobi, like in dollars. You can get a condo in Dallas for that kind of money. But this is where the country is going. The country is being sold to the highest bidders. And if you're investing, you're paying taxes to the government, it's all that matters. So the mistreatment of that, of customers and consumers is going to come. And it's a sad thing. It is something that is happening a lot. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Elshady Jackson, back at it again with another episode of King Uganda. I'm out.